Hello, everyone, and welcome to Dad Bods and Bad Attitudes. We are your hosts. I'm Christopher Samela. He's Mark Davis. Just a couple of middle-aged white guys with some guitars, dad bods, bad attitudes, and a whole lot of fire for what's going on in the world. And speaking of fire, what's going on in the world, we're pretty pissed off about this new CR that just passed through the Senate. We're going to get started by talking with Mark about his expertise in the healthcare industry, particularly with health insurance. He's got a lot he'd like to say on this subject. Mark, why don't you get right into it, man? Because this is your backyard. Talk about what the impacts of this piece of shit bill that has just passed through the Senate could be if it gets made into law.
Yeah, so a lot of people may not know that I have, many different hats. I was in business before and owned my own small business where I was selling health insurance. And throughout that, I got licensed in over 30 in 32 in 32 states and was actually the number one sales agent for the company I was working for last year. So did really well with it. I enjoyed it. I loved helping people. But through it, you do realize that there's inconsistencies with truth throughout the health insurance business and pre-existing conditions and what type of policies to sell. And it's very confusing, and the whole program is designed to confuse you. And if you don't have somebody guiding you that is honest and truthful, you can be in a bad policy, right? And we'll get into more about the details of, all these changes to the ACA plans. How does that impact you? Do you have employer coverage versus do you have to find your own coverage every year? And we'll break some of that down. But it's very, like you were saying, Chris, it's very upsetting at the least to see the Senate cave like this. Those eight senators, I think seven of them were Democrats and one of them was an independent.
Correct.
And
Yeah.
yeah, they went rogue against the Democrat Party and decided to vote to open up the government with very, very minimal anything that they didn't really get much from it. They got I think they are going to promise to vote on ACA benefits
Yeah.
within a certain time frame. No, nothing concrete there. Very, very, very minimal did they get anything out of that. So they just went through the longest government shutdown I think the country's ever had. And on the other side of that, they caved and
Yeah.
Democrat people, not even Democrats. I don't even want to say Democrats. The people are scared about what is going on with the Trump administration and how they are just bullying their way over all of our checks and balances. And we were glad that somebody was finally standing up to them, right? And
Yeah.
we knew that SNAP benefits were going to be impacted, and they were working through that. And we knew that government employees were going to be paid, or to some extent, we knew that, and we still had the support of the public because they knew on the other side of that equals tragedy. It means that people lose their health care. It means that people can't afford their health care. And I got concrete examples here, Chris, of where I went. I still have access to an insurance website. It's called Health Sherpa, where you can see the price of different plans, and
Yeah.
you can put in your age and you can put in your income and see what the price of that plan is going to be. And I got an example here that we'll get into of
Yeah.
basically
Good.
my family, my age, right? My family's age, a family of four, but they're making only $100,000 a year as a family. And I just really want to highlight how little $100,000 a year is and how much they're going to have to pay for health insurance. And we'll get into all that. Um, but it's scary because that there's nothing from this point forward that says that they're gonna bring back any type of those ACA benefits, right? And so what are people going to do? And now they're talking, they have these crazy ideas, and Trump is kind of squirming right now that he's talking about sending people money so they can find their own health care or something like
Yeah.
that. So I mean, that doesn't even make sense. I mean, if you're going to
No.
give, that's almost like HSA health savings accounts
Yeah.
that really
Right. It
just,
sounds like an HSA, but
and that really just
with your own
benefits.
money. that you already sent the government. They're going to send back to you to put into an HS. See, everything, and I have to comment on this, Mark, is that everything with this guy's a scam because he doesn't actually know anything about real business, real government, real governance, real administration, or real leadership. I mean, we know what the kind of he's a con artist, and that's
Yeah.
why all he knows is you move money around a la a Ponzi scheme to keep covering up your deficiencies.
Hmm.
And you try to make someone whole here, but it makes this group over here empty. And he just keeps doing that. So, for example, with the tariffs, why he's even talking about he's talking about a $2,000 tariff stimulus check,
Hmm.
a $2,000 tariff stimulus check. Okay, let's break that down because it relates to what you were just saying. We are paying more for our goods that are coming in from overseas because we're tariffing the shit out of it now. Where it depends on where it comes from and what it is, but so many different products are getting tariffs now. And unlike just despite what he says and all the sycophants say, that's a tax on the American people. So the
Hmm.
people are paying these taxes, of course, to cover up for the tax cuts that the billionaires got. So we're paying more in taxes. So then he's going to write a stimulus check for $2,000 to everyone with our own money. But that was the money that was supposed to fill the hole that was left because we're giving tax cuts to billionaires.
Hmm.
So now we're double dipping into the same amount of money when we're already in debt by 20 something trillion dollars. Okay, so we're 20 trillion plus upside down, and we're going to write $2,000 checks to 150 million people, 175 million people. How many people are going to
Hmm.
get that check? How many more billions of dollars does that add? And we
I think
already
it
know what
was.
that does. That creates inflation. That's what happened the first time or the last time that this happened during COVID. And it's understandable when Trump did it the first time or Biden did it the second time because nobody really knew how protracted
Yep.
the fallout would be of that. So I don't even give Trump any grief over that because he was operating that decision with what little information that he had. But now he's just doing this because he's got to cover up everything. And now,
Yeah.
if you're going to do the same thing with healthcare, and this will never come to pass because the health insurance lobby is far too powerful, so he's not going to do this. But he's talking about let me just give you more of your own money back to pay for health insurance, and instead of just the obvious, everybody knows that we're getting sucked and bled dry for health care in this country because of the profit motive.
Yeah.
Because of the profit motive. Everybody has to make money, not just a little bit of money. I mean, everybody in every part of the healthcare equation in America is putting their hands in your pocket and pulling out money. And people go bankrupt over it. People lose, you know, they a ton of money has to be spent on everybody's healthcare. There's so much stress that goes into it because you don't know if you're going to get the healthcare coverage, the drugs you need, or what.
Hmm.
And I can give you personal examples,
Well,
but
hold on.
before we even
I
get to
want
that,
to, I want to say something real quick, and I want to kind of set the stage a little bit even more.
yeah,
Like,
go ahead.
how did we get here, right? Because we thought didn't Obama fix healthcare with Obama? No,
Right. Yeah.
no, he didn't. He didn't fix healthcare, and it wasn't supposed to be a fix. It was supposed to be an inroad to hopefully getting to Medicare for all,
Right.
right?
Hmm.
But that's what Obama wanted. Obama
Yep.
wanted universal health care. He wanted Medicare for all. He didn't want the government, or he wanted government control of health care. You right? He didn't want all these different companies being middlemen and sucking up all these benefits. And here we are almost saying, "Oh my God, I wish we had what Obama originally wanted." Because as it went through Congress, Democrats and Republicans, established Democrats and Republicans said, no, 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 that's socialism. So they
Right.
started, so they started giving benefits back to the insurance companies,
Hmm.
right? And so all of a sudden, now the good thing with Obamacare was that more people had access to healthcare, more people
Yeah.
had healthcare, but their coverage wasn't that great. And
Hmm.
today, I'll show you examples. Um, their coverage wasn't that great, but at least they did have some sort of access to it, right? Um, but so they were subsidized. The government is subsidizing somebody's health care.
Right.
And let's say let's just get into this example here, okay?
Good. Go
So
ahead. Yeah, that might as well.
so, so I ran an example for a family of four, okay? And this is what the impact of the ACA credits dropping off. And this is not how it was last year when I was selling insurance, okay? A family of four, my age, I'm 41. My wife is 39. I have a 12 or a 13-year-old daughter and a 9-year-old son, okay? So I entered that information into healthcare.gov. If you just go to healthcare.gov, you can do all this, right? And who this impacts, and this might not impact you, Chris. Do you get healthcare through your employer or through your wife's employer?
Yeah,
Okay.
one of the two.
Yeah, and so I get insurance through my wife's employer. She's a nurse, right? So this doesn't really impact me and you like it's going to impact small business owners or individuals that don't have employer provided healthcare. Okay.
Hmm.
And these people that don't have employer provided health care is a huge chunk of the population, okay? And they're out there searching for health care every year. And every year those rates go up and up and up,
Yeah.
right? And those ACA credit extensions helped block some of that. But the credits that the government is providing are going straight to the insurance companies. So the insurance companies are still raking in pricing
Yeah.
with very regulated price control. So the insurance companies can say, Mr. Government, this policy's worth $2,000 and I want you to pay 99% of that for somebody that makes under $50,000, right? And the government can't really check their price, so they just pay the credit. So it's not perfect. What Obama wanted was the insurance companies out of it because if they're in it, it's just a freaking mess and nobody gets help, right? But we're here. More people had access to healthcare. Okay. So even today, more people have access to healthcare through Obamacare, and there are still credits available if you are under a certain income. Okay. So my example that I pulled was my family. I'm 41. My wife is 39. My daughter's 13. My son is 9. I entered their information into healthcare.gov, and I put our zip code and I put that we made $100,000 a year as a family, right? And X amount of years ago, not even that long ago, I can still remember where $100,000 a year was a lot of money, right? But today, $100,000 really isn't a whole lot of money.
No.
So let me break this down for you. A family of four that makes $100,000 a year is expected to pay, and this doesn't sound too bad at first, okay? With the new rates, $217 a month for a bronze plan, okay,
Uh-huh.
which is the lowest plan available. So this is where people stop and say, okay, so there's different tiers and
Yeah.
what should I choose or what this is where you need to talk to somebody. This is where you need to talk. And I'm not selling insurance, but I can help recommend different legitimate agencies to work with, you know. But it's very, very important. This is why employers shouldn't be a part of insurance. This is why private companies shouldn't be a part of insurance because it's very, very personal and you need to know what you're buying. So if you buy the cheapest plan available on healthcare.gov without knowing what you're buying and you're paying $217 a month, you're getting something called an HMO network, okay? And you're getting a $17,000 deductible.
Good
Okay.
Lord.
And you're getting a $25,000 max out of pocket. All
Yeah.
right.
So
So,
you're going to be paying rate card every step of the way for unless you have just the worst health luck possible in the course of a calendar year.
right. Right. So you're paying $217. And then, I didn't even, so I mentioned HMO. Okay. So there are three major networks for health insurance, and it's almost like good, better, best. Okay. There's EPO, HMO, and PPO. Okay, those are the three networks of insurance. And if you have employer provided healthcare, you really don't have an option. They're just going to provide you. You might have an HMO, you might have a PPO, you probably don't even know, to be honest. But if you're searching for your own healthcare, you can choose what type of plan to build to properly suit you. Okay. But people are just choosing these cheapest plan and they're HMOs. And HMOs mean that you can't go to any doctor you want to find healthcare. It may not work at X doctor office, so it's very limited to the in-network providers for that specific plan. And if you need to see a specialist, you have to get a referral first from your
Yeah.
general practitioner. So it's like this steps and steps, and it's clunky and it's brutal, right? And if you got a sick kid, you're going to have to call the insurance company first so they can network that shit out so that you're not paying out the roof, right? It's brutal that what these people have to go. Okay,
Well, I
so
mean, it's a
so
maze. The healthcare in America is a labyrinth that most people can't navigate. And if you can, it's because probably at that time you're in a position where, okay, I'm sick or I hurt myself, but I can navigate this mentally. When you're stressed out, you're in a crisis situation, or more likely, a family member is in a crisis situation. You become and mentally compromised. It is and emotionally compromised. It's very difficult to
yeah,
navigate the things you have to navigate in America to get your loved one that health care that they need, because it's a labyrinth.
yeah, yeah. And I'm not selling any health insurance right now, but I mean, this is might be a good topic to have like a live conversation with people just to kind of answer some questions. So if people
Yeah,
have questions, hold on, can you still hear me? Hold on, I
I hear
turn
you
this
fine.
off. Okay. Okay. But either way, if people have questions, just blow up the comment section. I'll try to get back to everybody on, what my advice is. But
Cool.
anyway, so we talked about HMO and PPO and all that stuff. So the people are getting the cheapest plan available to them, $217, $100,000 a year. That's a lot of money for somebody making $100,000 a year, but it's not groundbreaking. You could probably swing it, right? If you manage your bills correctly. But you're getting the worst network. You're probably going to have struggles even using it. You have a $17,000 deductible. So what that means is you will not get any benefits for any non-procedural type office visits until you pay
Yeah.
$17,000.
Like you have already entered crisis zone to have been in a position to have to spend $17,000. Like if you're even
Right.
approaching that, you probably on your deathbed, because that's
Right.
an obscene amount of money on a deductible. Even an expensive doctor's visit of $100 to $200, you would have had to have dozens of them to get anywhere near $17,000 in multiple hospital, and probably at least one significant hospital stay, maybe even two, to
Yeah.
so like to get near there. So you are definitely in a crisis zone
Yeah.
if you are spending that kind of money on a deductible.
I would have people, ask me, yeah, oh, I had this insurance and my son broke his arm and they sent me the
Yeah,
entire bill. And I
yeah,
said, yeah, they're going to send you the entire bill because you haven't hit your deductible yet. They're not going to help you at all until you hit that deductible. Okay. So once you finally hit that deductible, Chris, so you're paying $250 a month for the crappiest plan in the world
yeah.
on a network that you probably can't even find a doctor on. And then once you finally have an emergency and you finally find a doctor that's going to cover you, you're going to have to pay $17,000 before they even pay one penny. Okay, so you pay $17,000 and then do they pay all of your bills?
No, what's the co-insurance?
No. Then they only pay whatever their co-insurance is. So they're
Yeah,
going to they might pay 80% of the next bill. So you still have to pay 20% until you hit your max out of pocket of $25,000 every year.
yeah.
Okay.
Obscene.
So once you finally hit $25,000 in your own paid medical expenses for somebody that makes $100,000 a year from somebody that's paying $250 a month to cover, once you finally hit $25,000 for the year, then you don't have to pay any more medical bills. But you're broke by then.
Yeah,
You're
right.
done. You're
Yeah,
bankrupt.
you're definitely upside down. You're
Yeah.
not saving money. You might be, and we know. I mean, I think the percentage is somewhere around 50%, give or take 10%, because I know I don't have the number right. Of Americans are living are within a $400 or $500 emergency
Hmm.
of being broke, like flat broke. Too many of us are living paycheck to paycheck in the realist sense. And a healthcare emergency like what you're describing would definitely break someone, no question
Oh,
about it.
and the 100,000, and I pick $100,000 income household because these people think they're rich.
Yeah,
Sometimes they're like the kid that grew up in the hometown. They're making 100 grand a year for their family of four, and they think they're rich, but they don't understand the benefits that they need to survive here and how screwed they're going to be, right?
yeah,
So the crappiest plan in the world, and I would never suggest that plan
yeah. You're
to
not going to put that
anybody.
plan on
All
anybody,
right.
right?
But I would put that plan before any type of private plan. If you get off of and we'll get into that, but if you get it off of an ACA plan, then you're in a whole different world, and we'll get into that. But anyway, that's the crappiest plan in the world. So I upped it just one level, okay?
Yeah,
And this was still a bronze plan. So it goes like bronze, silver, gold, okay?
yeah,
This is still a bronze plan, so it's like the lowest tier, but I lowered the deductible to $12,000, okay?
yeah,
And I put them on a PPO network. And a PPO network, if you remember, is the best type of network. And that's where you can go to pretty much any doctor, any hospital throughout the country and still get coverage, okay? Um, that will cost, and this is still bad insurance. This has a $12,000 deductible, so you have to pay $12,000 every year before they used to pay any benefits, and it has a
hmm
$20,000 max out of pocket still. Okay, still bad insurance. That little upgrade is going to cost that family of four $1,054 a month.
Holy shit, a month.
Okay, so a family that makes $100,000 a year makes after taxes $7,000 a
Yeah,
month. Okay. They're paying $1,000 a month for healthcare. That's shit. That's bad healthcare. That they can finally go to a doctor though. They can finally get coverage, but they still have a high deductible. Okay. Now they're paying $1,000 a month
give
for
me a
this.
silver plan. If we're talking uh, a barely passable bronze plan with a $12,000 deductibles costing a family of four somewhere on the order of $1,200 a month. What does a silver plan
So
cost a family?
the plan that I would build for somebody,
Right.
right? That I would feel comfortable selling to somebody. I ran that for them. This has a $4,000 deductible,
Yeah.
not a $0 deductible, but it's 4,000. It's sucks, but you can usually write a $4,000 check. It is a PPO network. Max out of pocket is still $16,000 though. $2,800 a month
Oh,
for a family of four making $100,000 a year.
takes my
These are
breath away.
these
Like
are
I
business owners. These are people
yeah.
that work full-time jobs at employers that don't offer insurance. These are broke people. These are poor people. These are people that are suffering and trying to get these are young people that are trying to get their feet underneath them. They just got
Yeah.
hit with a 30 to 40 to I made a post the other day right before those eight, I call them the hateful eight, those
Yeah.
hateful eight senators that voted against our health care. I made a post right before they voted and I said, drop a comment down below and let me know how much your health care prices are going up because they're getting the bills. They're starting to see what their new rates are going to
Yeah.
be. And I didn't know if I was going to get any comments. You throw that out there, you might get one or two. I think I had just as many comments as I had likes on that thing. And I had like 400 likes or something like that, and people were
What were people
saying
saying?
200%, 400%. They were saying
Oh,
from $300 to $1,200. They were saying from free to $700. These people are going to lose their health care because they can't afford it. And then when they get sick, they're not going to have anywhere to go. and people are going
Now,
to forfeit their health.
yeah, they're gonna forfeit their health. They're gonna forego their health. I was reading last night because a lot of people are sharing it. I'm on Threads, and there are people sharing their stories or stories of loved ones right now. I saw more than one person who was sharing that he or she had cancer, was getting cancer meds that cost on the order, if memory serves, somewhere, and maybe I'll be conservative and say only $20,000 a month,
Hmm.
but the insurance plan they have now covers it.
Yeah,
That if the ACA benefits don't get extended, that they won't get the insurance plans. I'm not taking care of that for you. Fuck you. I need that Obama money.
right.
Otherwise, I'm not giving you your drugs. And there are people that could quite literally die without
Hmm.
their life-saving medicine.
Hmm.
That is what's going on right now.
Yeah,
That is the gravity of the situation right now in America. And there were people that were doing what your exercise you just went through, Mark. I saw people share examples of, here's where my insurance was, here's what a renewal would look like for the same coverage of the three tiers. And there were people that were sharing that their insurance would be somewhere, the range that they got would be between $40,000 and $50,000 a year for the same coverage. And it just makes my heart stop, because I know what it's like to have medical emergencies. I know what it's like to have family with a medical emergency in the hospital. I have plenty of friends, read plenty of stories. Everybody's going to be touched by some kind of health scare in their life before they ultimately go and kick the bucket
hmm
themselves. Everybody's going to have one and be touched by that. This idea that we don't care enough about each other to say, you know what, I'll pay the tax and make sure that everybody gets taken care of. I mean, we're the most selfish and stupid people on the face of the earth. As everyone already knows, it's been said a million times, we are the only developed nation that does not have health coverage and health care for every citizen. We're the only ones. And in
yeah.
fact, you can even take it further and say, if you were an American and you're in Australia, we heard the story, I heard the story recently from an acquaintance and read a story online about someone in Germany had a medical emergency. If you're an American, you get taken care of. There's no bill. They're not sending you a bill and chasing you down because you were an American visiting Europe or Australia or whatever, and you had a health scare. They're not chasing you down for that. Here in America, we have people saying, don't give the immigrants health care coverage. They're not fucking tourists. They're here fucking working. They're on top of roofs. They're picking up your fucking garbage. They're in the hot fucking kitchen
They're
cooking.
paying taxes.
They're paying taxes. And by the way, they're not supposed to get that health care coverage, but I frankly don't give a fuck. So all this, outrage about this, and the characterization, which by the way, I think the majority of Americans, enough independents and Republicans, reject the idea that this whole thing was about Democrats giving illegal immigrants health care coverage. I don't think that flew with enough people that they're
It's not even
buying,
true. It's
because
not
it's
even
not
true.
true.
They
Because
don't
it's
get
not
ACA
true.
benefits,
100%.
right? Yeah. So I want to touch on a couple things, right? That the the problem here is people are gonna say, so what do we do now? Now that we can't afford it, and this is where we're at now. This is how screwed up it is. I would love to say you can't do anything, you can't fix anything until you get rid of these insurance companies. You can't have insurance, you can't have private insurance companies running healthcare. It doesn't work. Every country, like you were studying, is proving it over and over, and they have a
Over
lot better results than we do.
$100%.
It's been broken for a long time. And these executives are wealthy, are super, super wealthy. And a lot of the agents that work for them are too. They make a ridiculous amount of money. These agents do. Okay. So what do you do? So what do you do? Okay. So Mark, what do you do? I still say you need to go to the ACA. You got to go to the marketplace. And that's the only place that you should get insurance. And I say that for a number of reasons because you're going to have a lot of vultures out there trying to say that what they're selling is insurance, and you have to be careful. Okay. And there are private options that you can get on your own outside of the ACA, and it's not ACA credited insurance, meaning
Mm,
that it is health insurance, but it's not approved by the ACA. And when that is the case, it usually means they don't cover pre-existing conditions. Okay.
right.
So,
Great point.
um,
I think that's a great point, Mark. Yeah, something
yeah.
to look out for if you're shopping.
Yeah. So a lot of these companies will bury that stuff into the small print. We're not ACA, or you'll even have something called a health care savings plan or a health share plan. And a lot of times they're masked in Christian groups, like it's a Christian health share plan. And what it
Really?
is, yeah, and it's not insurance. If you look at the brochures, it'll say this is not actual insurance. But what it is, and some people have good luck with it, but a lot of people get burned with it. But everybody just puts a bunch of money into a pile of a group,
Right.
right? And then if you have there if there's enough money in that pile to cover your procedure, then you get covered. And if there isn't,
I've heard of that. Yeah, it's
yeah,
like a co-op of sorts.
yeah, exactly. So those are I would stay away from those, because that's not real insurance. And when you
Right.
need real insurance, you don't need, and a lot of people get confused. You don't need insurance to go to the doctor for your yearly checkups. You don't
Right.
need insurance. I think, Chris, you're what, a lot older than me, so you don't need,
This guy said a lot older. God damn. A
you know,
lot
you,
older.
well, I think you're getting ready for the fingers up the butt or
Oh
whatever.
shit.
So you don't need insurance for that shit, right? Like you can pay out of pocket for that stuff and probably end up paying less than a monthly insurance bill, add it all up for the rest of the year, right?
Hmm.
That's what you need insurance for, Chris, is because you broke your arm or you slipped
Yeah.
and fell and you hit your head and you got a concussion, you need an MRI and it's an emergency, or pregnancy or mental health issues or something outside of normal care, right? And once you start challenging these plans with anything outside of normal care, that's where they start falling apart. All right. And that's where they
Which
start
is, of course,
relying.
the irony of it, because that's why you're buying it. It's why you need it. But
Exactly.
you know, is for those emergency situations.
Right. So you'll get a lot of these companies that say they have a $0 deductible and they offer this and that and that. But you have to be to get on their insurance, you have to be like this prime specimen that never had any type of
Well,
illness.
thank you. I appreciate the compliment, but
You
you know, I
basically
do
have to
need
be you,
insurance.
Chris. Yeah, you do basically. Yeah. So and so, but if you lie and they don't catch it, they are going to deny you. And if like if you get sick, they're going to look into your record. And if there's something in your record that you didn't disclose, they're going to fight like hell to decline you insurance, right? So you
Yeah.
got to stay away from anybody that asks about health questions. If they start asking you health questions, that's not real insurance. That's not
Hmm.
ACA approved. And what a lot of these vulture companies are doing is they're taking healthy people away from Obamacare. Okay.
Right.
And
Which
once
makes
you
Obamacare have more exposure.
more exposure and yeah, more risk, right? So you have to
Yeah.
balance out healthcare with risk. You have to have healthy people to bring
Yeah. You
down
have to have
risk.
healthy people. Right.
Yeah. And if they're all unhealthy on Obamacare, then you're just going to be paying more and more because your risk goes up and up, right? So you have all these vulture companies that are getting people off of what we're trying to get to a more universal level so that we lower our rates. And there's hundreds of thousands of insurance companies out there that are all trying to pocket this stuff. So
Yeah.
stay on the eight because if you need insurance and you're not on when you need insurance is in an emergency, and it's when you need a heart transplant, right? Or something that like something that is major and is going to put you out for a long time. It's not for your day-to-day stuff. So anyway, stay on the ACA marketplace if you're smart. Um, Now, if you have employer coverage, obviously, then you just get healthcare through whatever insurance company your employer picked.
Now let's talk
Right.
about that real
Yep.
real quick, Mark, because the reality is this: because of the Obamacare subsidies going away or just not being extended for some period of time, right? This might come back, maybe it won't. We don't know, but that uncertainty at minimum is affecting the plans that you could buy on the ACA. How does that affect private or privately provided health insurance that you get from your employer? Because it will affect many employer provided plans.
Yeah. So anytime you have an employer plan, they're all getting ACA coverage as well. This all going through the marketplace as well. Once you have over X amount of employees, I think it varies state by state, but the general number is 25 employees. You have to have ACA accredited insurance if you're going to offer insurance for your employees. So what these insurance companies do is they see an opportunity to come in and get a whole bunch of plans all at once, right? And get a good
Yeah,
deal on that plan, but they still have to run it through the ACA marketplace. It's still it still goes through the marketplace. So when they're doing their balance sheets and trying to figure out, how much should we charge employers or, X amount of employees, what size the company is going to vary how much they're going to charge these. But they also take into account how many people are paying for insurance privately, right? Because that all goes into the pool as well. So
yeah,
if you have all of a sudden you have all these credits going away, you're going to have millions of people that are no longer able to afford health insurance. So that's billions of dollars that's no longer going to these health insurance companies via government
right.
credits, right? So now they have to raise their rates for everybody else
For everyone.
to account for that revenue loss.
And there you go, folks. Like the reality of this whole thing is even if you're not on the exchange and getting a plan that you think is directly from the ACA, there is a very high likelihood your health coverage will be affected by the lack of ACA subsidies.
Hmm.
There's a very good chance your rates are going to go up, even
Oh,
if
for
you get
sure.
it from a private employer.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I mean, all that money, it doesn't matter to the health insurance company if the person is paying $0 for that plan or $1,200 for that plan because they're still getting the same amount of money at the end of the day because they're being subsidized by the government for whatever the
Right.
the insured isn't paying, right? So they don't care they don't care who's on the plan. They just want to make sure that people are on the plan. And if the government's removing those subsidies, then they know that millions of people are going to drop their plan because they can't pay for it anymore.
Right. Yep. And it's going to be a shortfall, and those balance sheets shrink, and people fucking, you know, lose their jobs, and CEOs are under fire, and all that sort of shit happens. And yeah, the only solution is raise people's prices. That's what they
And then,
do.
and
That's all
then,
they know. It's all they
and
know. It's a profit motive game. It's just companies looking to make a buck. Everybody's got a story they've heard or they've personally experienced where the insurance companies were trying to find a way to not cover you for something. Uh, Homeowners insurance is a classic one.
hmm
Everybody, especially in Florida, everyone knows someone that had their roof torn off or the house flooded, and the insurance company w- went through hoops, fucking pirouettes, stood on their head to find a way to not cover the damage. And now, any insurance company, it's almost the same thing, and especially, for health insurance. So make no mistake, because we insist on doing things this way, instead of holding the billionaires and politicians accountable and saying, no, we want a Medicare system for every American, this is going to keep happening. And it's
and then
going to get worse. There's no
before,
other solution. There's no other
go ahead.
outcome, rather. And let me tell you why. Because of what you said, on the one hand, without subsidies that we pay anyway, without those subsidies, the insurance companies are going to say there's a shortfall. We're going to raise prices or provide less in the way of services, because you can get your candy bar for the same price, but it's going to be smaller, or we're going to charge you more money for the
Hmm.
candy bar. Okay, shrinkflation, like Joe said last year. Okay, that's the only solution. And the other outcome of all of that is that with the increased stress, with the less coverage that Americans have, the more sick Americans are going to get. And what is that going to do? Cost more money and cost more lives and be less efficient just from an economical standpoint, so that fucking dumb fuck Trump, all the goddamn genius businessmen and CEOs and all you cocksucking billionaires can understand productivity is going to go down. Economically, we are going to suffer. So this is just stupid from the jump. And the fact that you have people for decades now have made personal business decisions on where they're going to work predicated upon the insurance coverage that they can get through their employer is also, by the way, that's not great for business either.
No,
Oh, this other guy's offering me better insurance coverage. I should just go jump. That's why a guy is leaving your company, because he can get better coverage from this other company, not because he's even telling you that the competition's a better company,
you're
that he
telling
wants
me
the job necessarily. So we have people, we have businesses competing for talent over variables that they shouldn't have to worry about. Just, are you a good company? Do you offer a good product? Is the person a right fit? Can they do the job?
the businesses, they don't want to be involved with healthcare,
No,
Chris.
nobody does. No, believe me. And
No,
as a guy who manages a business, no, you don't want
they
anything
don't
to
want
do with it.
anything to
It's
do
the
with
last
it.
fucking thing I want to
Th-
talk about.
Get it? So, I mean, this goes out to MAGA Republicans, regular Republicans,
Yeah.
whatever it is. Think about it. Your
Yep.
business, you don't want to deal, you don't even want, you could fire half of your HR staff, right? If you got rid of talking about healthcare, right? Just nobody wants to deal with healthcare. Uh, Put that shit on the government. That's the only people that are actually going to be able to fix some sort of program that needs the help of the entire nation involved, so everybody gets it, right? And
And I don't know if it
go
was
ahead.
Bernie that says it, but Bernie. It could even be a George Carlin quote, for all I know. I can't remember the source, but the quote is: "Universal health care is so complex and arcane that only 31 out of 32 developed countries have figured out how to do it."
Right. Right. And there's a solution. And I'm not saying it's going to be perfect either, but in a
It's
world
better than this. It's better
where
than this.
where you don't have to worry about going broke, where you don't have to compete for employees for healthcare, where and Trump just tweeted or whatever he does on Truth Social, that he doesn't all of a sudden he doesn't like big insurance companies. He was talking
Oh, I
about
know.
like now
Some
he's full universal healthcare now, it sounds like. I mean,
all
you
of a
can't
sudden
pin this guy
yeah,
down.
he's more left than Bernie. Here's what Trump is doing to United Healthcare, Humana, Aetna, Cigna, whoever the fuck else is out there. He's like this:
Yeah,
put that shit in my hand, and I'll change my tune. Put it
yeah,
right there. $1 billion in the coffers. Thank you. And then all of a sudden it'll be, insurance companies in America are the greatest thing. We have to work with them. We have to subsidize them. We have to whatever.
yeah. And MAGA will
How the
just
game goes.
they'll about face and they'll turn the other direction and stare
Yeah.
right at him. I mean, this is what happens, Chris, when you have a pedophile and a criminal in charge of your country.
It's the truth. Let's go ahead and pivot off of that. And I thank you for using your experience to convey to people the magnitude of the situation that we're in. Thanks to you had the hateful eight. That was your term for them. I call them Chuck and the Cucks. Okay,
Love it.
because
Yeah.
they just got cucked. These
Hmm.
eight cucks, and the reason they're cucks is they're fucking stupid. All eight of you were fucking stupid or corrupt, and there's no other reason for it. When I watched that press conference after the this came down the other night, after this decision was made and the agreement was made, and I watched these, and I think it was all eight of them, although I don't recall Durbin being there, but there the eight of them are there. Angus King's talking. Um, I don't think Jackie Rosen was talking. Maybe it was Masto. Oh, Shaheen, who just made my blood boil. But between Shaheen and King, they could barely get out their explanation. They could barely
Hmm.
get a complete, articulate sentence and explanation for their decision out. Angus King, and I'll never forget it, what this guy said is, it wasn't working. Folks, I want you to hear what I just said. This motherfucker went on national television in front of the media and said that their negotiations with the Republicans, who have the majority and can and basically control the entire government, it wasn't working. So let me get this straight, King. Because it wasn't working, they weren't listening to you. We're going to give in to what they want, was your solution. That
Mm,
was what you decided, sir. Shaheen, Masto, Durbin. Durbin really makes me sick to my stomach because I held that guy in high regard. King, whoever the fuck else, Jackie Rosen, they decided it wasn't working. We're going to give them what they want. The reports, it didn't take long for the reports to come out. It was probably the next morning, as I recall, where people in Trump's inner circle said, quote, the Democrats were pussies. Who could have seen this coming, Mark? Who could have
mm,
seen it coming? They got played. Everyone knows they got played. And if they think they were so smart and playing 3D fucking chess against the opposition, please explain how 40 other Democratic senators weren't smart enough to go along with it. Okay? You were outnumbered by your own caucus somewhere on the order of 40 to 8.
mhm,
39 to 8, whatever it was. All the rest of them fucking knew this was dumb as shit. But you guys are smarter than all of them. And if it was because, and if Durbin was the leader, because they had to buck Schumer to do this. So either Schumer is complicit in lying, which is possible, but I'm more than likely, and I think most people would agree, that Schumer's just weak and nobody
mhm.
listened to him. And
Yep.
Durbin rolled him and said, okay, if you seven other fuckers want to do this, I'll go with it. And they rolled him. They embarrassed the entire fucking caucus. They pissed off and infuriated the entire Democratic base because nobody wanted them to do that. Everybody wanted them to stand firm because of the magnitude of the situation, which is that the ACA extensions had to be negotiated into the package, into the CR, the quote clean CR. And we're going to get into just how clean this dirty motherfucker is
Mm.
because they're promising a vote, and that's why we took their deal. Mark, I've got an. I haven't. I'm not going to use it. I'm not going. It's lewd. I had an old boss who had an expression.
Come on,
I'm
come on.
not going to say it. It's gross,
Oh,
but
come on.
he
This is
had
dad
this
bods.
expression about when
Okay.
somebody says something to you that he doesn't believe, and he said, "Yeah, and you won't," and he would go ahead and make this lewd comment, and he said it all the time. Okay,
Mhm.
that's what these guys did. The Republicans gave them a fucking line. They're not going to honor anything. They waited until this deal was had before they even seated a fucking House, a duly elected House of Representative Congresswoman who was sitting on the sidelines for 7 fucking weeks. They waited till now to put it on to put her into the House. So this was all the machinations the Republicans had going on. They're very good at this Machiavellian shit. We know that.
Yep.
They
Yep.
certainly sure as fuck don't represent the people. So that's what I have to say about the setup of this whole thing and why I think these cucks are weak and they need to step down today. They won't because for some reason they think they're fucking right, but they're weak. And Schumer's weak for allowing this to happen, and he needs to step aside. So I'm going to let you weigh in because there are some things that they slipped into this, as I called it, this dirty motherfucker that we need to talk about. Because I knew right, I told you right before we went live with this that your mind was blown about the shit they slipped in. I
Yep.
want to talk about it. Go ahead with what your thoughts are on your hateful eight, the Chuck and the Cucks.
Yeah, I made a post shortly after, I think the morning after or whatever, and just said this is why Democrats have a 17% approval rating, right? I mean,
You're not
and
fighting.
you're not fighting, and what you're doing isn't working. We don't like what you're doing, so stop doing it. And what we want you to do is stand firm. And it's always a negotiation, and it doesn't matter if you're buying a car or you're trying to save the world, right?
Yep.
That the first person to speak loses. You
Yeah.
said what you wanted. You needed ACA credits. and then you hang up the phone and you don't say a fucking word until they call you and say, okay, that's it. And then you just wait, and then you guys will be the heroes, right? That's it. That's all you had to do.
That's it, Mark. And why is what you're saying the strategic move to make? Because the American people blamed Trump. They didn't blame
Right.
the Democrats for the shit approval. Excuse me, for the shit approval rating that they have. Nobody, not nobody, but I mean, you understand, the majority of Americans blame Trump for the shutdown.
Hmm.
They were making him own it. And what these 8 people did is humiliate the entire delegation of Democrats in front of their voters who were like, yes, thank you. Finally, you're fucking fighting for us. Thank you for doing this. We know why you're doing this. Thank you.
They
And,
they
and
they
these
humiliate
weaklings embarrassed all of them.
they humiliated me, Chris. They humiliated you. You know,
Yeah.
I'm sitting here every day trying to give this Democrats this freaking spine,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And you start to see Jeffries fighting back a little bit. You
Yeah.
see Gavin Newsom doing some amazing work out there in California. Obviously Jasmine. You know, you see AOC people. But you're seeing more and more of people just speaking out, and
Yeah.
and
Just
I see
regular
that
people.
energy, and I get behind him, and then I try to throw my support behind him and get people to rah behind him, and then they pull this crap, and then it makes me not even want to support them, to be
Yeah. I hear you.
honest, you know.
Yep.
And that's they gotta listen to us. They gotta listen to me. Because I feel like I have my finger on the pulse of what the public wants more than any senator out there, more than any congressman out there,
Yeah.
right? You know, but what I'm saying is they need to listen to their approval rating. We do not
Yeah.
approve of you bowing down to them any fucking more.
No.
Stop it. Stop it.
I hope this message, what you just said, can get to them. I hope it can penetrate them. I hope they can actually receive what we just said, see the video, it penetrate their fucking pea brains. Because you're right. You regular people understand what's going on. You have your finger on the pulse. We're tired of it. No more bowing down. You had this guy in a fucking compromised position for once, and you fucking let him off the hook for nothing. Let's talk about what they actually put in this fucking dirty bill.
Let's hear it.
Not a clean continuing resolution. This budget bill's got all kinds of fucking shady shit in it. Let me give you one. We talked about this, just saw Rand Paul talking. Rand Paul somehow is the voice of reason because he actually voted against this thing.
Yeah.
And he
Well,
also pointed out,
he voted against the tariffs too.
yes, and he's made us think about the tariffs because he
Yep.
views himself as this dyed in the wool libertarian, and tariffs are bad. And
Yeah.
basically, he's right.
Yep.
So in this, there's a provision that would make THC, hemp derived THC products illegal nationwide, ban. So you have entire states with whole, industries now of from the medical marijuana to the legalized marijuana that are generating revenues and jobs with relating to these industries. This bill will, in effect, kill it. Now, I haven't read the entire thing, and as you pointed out before we got on the air, none of these assholes have read the entire thing. Um, but the net effect of this is likely to be a THC products will be banned. Okay. I don't know if it is going to go as far as the medical side of it and people who can get a prescription to have it legally, but the ramifications of this could be dramatic. I'm not a weed smoker. Ain't going to affect me one iota. So I don't really give a shit, but I think it's wrong because you have people that do have it prescribed legally, people use it. It's not, the gateway drug and all other bullshit. I'm not an advocate of it. I think it has a lot of negative qualities to it, but I don't really care because I
But
can
but
make my own decisions.
I think it's not
Uh,
about it's not about the marijuana, right? It's not about that it's marijuana. So this is all these MAGA people have all these trucks and they have these massive flags with USA
Yeah.
and all this MAGA shit, right? And then they have that
Yep.
yellow flag that says "Don't tread on me." Right? This is them treading on you.
Yes.
They did there was the Farm Act that was passed that allowed THC to be at 0.3% of the weight of the product or some that is the law. And whole industries were built around that. Whole farms were built around that. You know,
Yep.
multi-billion dollar tax revenue, advertising agencies, the list goes on, packaging companies, and this is all made in America. And it's what people want. It's what the American people want on a large scale. They don't care if marijuana is legalized in
They don't.
America.
They don't. I
This,
mean, this,
this,
over the last maybe 2 decades, Mark, it's been, slow progress in that area towards um, allowing people to make the decision for themselves. Can I read Rand Paul's quote here? That's what he said, because he got an amendment that was killed. My amendment would strip the provision designed to regulate the hemp industry to death. The bill, as it now stands, overrides the regulatory framework of several states, cancels the collective decisions of hemp consumers, and destroys the livelihoods of hemp farmers.
mm,
And it couldn't come at a worse time for America's farmers. Times are tough for our farmers. And that's the truth because Trump has killed our agriculture industry. We talked about it in some other shows. He's killed soybeans. He's in effect damaged the corn industry, cattle, livestock, all kinds of products that we export because people trust American agriculture. And now this, which is $1 billion industry, depending upon what your state you're in.
yeah.
And they snuck this bullshit in that nobody asked for. Rest assured, there isn't an American who was like, you got to get that in there.
No. Do you know how many MAGA folk are "Don't tread on me" and they smoke pot? And
Yep.
but it's bigger than that, right? It's not about that. It's about the fact that these politicians are passing bills without knowing what the hell is in them. Why are they doing that? Why are
Dude,
they voting for this stuff? It
talk
doesn't
about it.
make
Like, I
sense to
mean,
me.
elaborate for the viewer so it's abundantly clear what you were saying right now. What do you mean by that?
Well, that the senators don't even know that these provisions are inside this
Mm-hmm.
bill. So the hateful eight or the Cucks or whatever you want to call them, they
Yeah.
voted for this bill, and it could criminalize or de legalize the whole marijuana industry, and they
Yeah.
don't even know it.
They don't even know it. They don't even
They
know
have
it's in
no idea.
there and they're voting for it.
It's not even a big bill. If they can't read this bill, they're not reading any bill. And
Yes.
and and
You're right.
you brought up the great point. Like, why they got all these people working for them? I'm pretty sure that Congress and senators, congressmen, women, senators, they don't really physically do anything, right? All their
Right. What are they
they're
doing?
right. So at least ask somebody to read it and break it up into pieces, or better yet,
That's it. That's what I was
I
saying.
have
Like they probably have half a dozen to a dozen staffers, each of them. Tell them each to read fucking 30 pages of this fucking thing. Give you a digest, put it together. What are the ramifications? What are the second order, possibilities? Let's talk it. Let's have a meeting. Let's talk it out, and then let me go into these and fight in this. Like when I deal with clients, I don't have to do I have people that work on my team that inform me and educate me on certain matters that I'm not an expert in. And then
right.
I use my skills as a negotiator and a deal maker to go crack some fucking skulls. And that's what
Right.
I do. And I'm
Hmm.
good at that. And you have a team to help you. That's their fucking job. They're supposed to their job is literally to negotiate with each other.
Hmm.
That's what the senators are there to do on our behalf. And they have the staffers who are there to work for them, give them information, and then help them do their job when they get in the room or rooms. They do the breakout rooms, or they go into the actual, into the Capitol, the Senate chamber, the House, on the floor. They negotiate it. They talk it out. That was the premise of this whole thing 250 fucking years ago. I can't even believe it has to be explained what their job is. But it seems like it does have to be explained because they don't have anybody reading the bill. Let me give you the other one.
Mm.
A lot of people are talking about this. All right, this was on Rachel Maddow's show. Here's a quote: "Spending package expected to be approved as part of a deal to reopen the government would create a wide legal avenue for senators to sue for as much as a $500,000 each when federal investigators search their phone without notifying them. The provision appears to immediately allow for 8 GOP senators, and you know who they are, to sue the government over their phone records being seized in the course of the investigation by special counsel Jack Smith. And it is retroactive to the beginning of 2022. This, if it's not blatantly obvious what these motherfuckers are doing, is they're creating an architecture that allows these 8 complicit traitors to go back in time to before Jack Smith started the investigation so that they have a platform to which they can go, all right, Jack got my phone and my records in 2023 and it was part of his investigation, but I'm covered because this bill will retroactively go back to 22.
So let me understand this. So these 8 senators, these hateful 8 Cuck senators,
Yeah.
they they not only they not only didn't fight for our health care, they passed a bill that they didn't know what was in it, but it's going to make us even more of a fascist country.
Yes, yes. That is correct because the outcome of this is we
Hmm.
already know that Jack Smith was muzzled. They shut him down, and the American people allowed that to happen by voting for Donald Trump. If you didn't
Hmm.
know this was going to be the outcome, well, number one, you're an imbecile. But number two, the outcome was always certain because Trump had his minions working to stop anything that Jack Smith was working on in the prior 2 to 3 years from ever coming to fruition. He was successful, as he is in many of his court proceedings, where his his strategy is delay, delay, delay. So he delayed everything. Jack was screwed, wasn't able to finish his job. you know, uh, Kamala lost, Trump wins, shook hands, everything. They sneak this shit in here. This says that they can go back and sue the government, their own government, for which they work, for the $500,000 apiece for their phones being seized and scrutinized. And the premise of that is to chill the idea of having independent investigations into government officials.
Hmm.
Okay, insulating them further from uh,
Transparency.
public oversight,
Jeez.
basically. And that would be the outcome because I'm sure they'll leave it on the book. So the next time one of these scumbags does something, which is probably right now, um, they can't be held accountable for it. They're all learning from Trump. And then what we've learned is that Trump is willing to, has no qualms about running roughshod over the entire Constitution. Any kind of order that we've had in the past 200, 250 years, he doesn't care about any of it. He cares about none of it. And he's telling you, and he's shown everyone that the law is only as good as the people who are supposed to enforce it. And if all they want to do is use it to enforce their own will on other people and, have a secret police running through the streets of Chicago, kidnapping people, he ordered it, so it means it's okay. We can
Yeah.
have the National Guard from one state go into another state. If he says it, then it's okay. And he could just write tariffs, which is supposed to be the purview of the Congress. It's okay. He can withhold funds, even though it's been appropriated by Congress. It's okay. And nobody's doing anything about it. The courts are trying to. And then what do? They just ignore the courts because they're saying no one will enforce it because my DOJ is completely corrupt and in the tank for me. So they're not going to go to the courts and say, I'll enforce your rulings. They're just saying we won't enforce anything. So there are no laws in
No,
America right now.
no, yeah, yeah, it's completely no justice. We're all kings right now. That's how I look at it.
Yeah.
Um,
You
that's
got to
crazy.
win, dude. You got to win. Let's talk about your campaign real quick because you've been hard at work. I know what you've been up to lately. Let's share some of that, and I love it. So let's share some of that with the audience.
Yeah. So we went. We're kicking butt, man. We're getting putting out a lot of feelers. We are making a lot of connections. I sat down with a lady that is actually working. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I'm that's actually working for somebody else running against me.
Hmm.
That's, the Democrat Party. But we
Don't tell
talked for
anyone.
yeah.
It's just
No, I
between
mean,
us.
it's the nice thing about it, Chris, is that it's just an open community, and I'm never going to say anything negative about the people that are fighting against Trump at the end of the day, and but we're all just trying to help each other, and that our vision is to find the best person that can beat Vern Buchanan, right? So that we can have a vote in the White House to hopefully impeach Trump right away,
Yep.
right? Um, that would be the ideal situation. But anyway, we talked for 3 hours, and lovely lady, and she was an immigrant, and she's carrying her papers around with her. Very kind of a sad story,
Sure.
that she feels like she has to carry her papers with ICE, and But anyway, I love that. Just being able to meet people throughout the community and going on to these different events. I went on, I think it was Saturday to an event, might have been Sunday, no, Saturday, um, for veterans, and it was in Hillsborough County, and it was beautiful, man. And it was put on by the Democrat Party, and there was a panel of four veterans on stage. Okay. And I don't remember all their names, but one of them is running in District 28. I think his name is Mike Earn, if I remember correctly. He's running down by Miami.
Okay.
He was there and he spoke, and he's a veteran. There was another veteran that is running in District 15, and I can't think of his name right now. But he was a veteran. He made a lot of good points. Sound like a really strong letter or a leader. I called him out on one of my posts afterwards, just kind of gave my approval for him. There was another lady there that has a local group that she amplifies, and they
Hmm.
reach youth, and they reach a lot of different people for a lot of different purposes. But she was a veteran. She spoke with fire, and she was like, our democracy is melting. And that she was the first one that what she was saying, and she was addressing like national issues. And she was saying that we really have to fight now against authoritarianism, against fascism. And people stood up and literally gave her a standing ovation. And she was the only one of the speakers, and she was probably the lowest ranked veteran that was up there. So it
Hmm.
was kind of cool that she was a little bit younger, and she had that fire, and you could just tell the whole room just lifted up when she started talking, because that's like what people want to hear, and that's what
Yeah.
people want to see right now. But she wasn't running for anything right now. And then there was a three-star general there. His nickname was like was it like Mad Dog or something? But um, he was a three-star general, and he got up and spoke, and he thanked the audience for getting out there and actually doing something. And the room was probably half full, and it was a
Hmm.
pretty big auditorium. Sure would be nice to see younger people in those rooms. And it's if you're looking, this is what I can say about these meetings. What you do is you go to your local community and you say like Democrat meetings or local get-togethers. You just type in Manatee County or Hillsborough County Democrats, right? And you can find a whole list of all these events that are happening in your area that different groups are putting on, right? And you can see how many people in your neighborhood have the same feelings and thoughts that you do, right? It's very comforting, especially in over here, where it's all red, where it feels like it's all red, right?
Yeah.
Um, but anyway, go to those events. That is where America still feels like America. You got people up there talking about truth. You got people up there parroting exactly what you feel, and then they were standing up and singing songs about America. We pledge allegiance, and then it was in a Christian church, right? And then at the very end, they had a Jewish um, uh, what's the Jewish preacher called?
Rabbi?
Rabbi. They had a rabbi that closed it off, in a Christian church. And my point is, like, it was military, it was
Yeah.
spiritual, and it was Christian, and it was Jewish, and it was fine, and everybody was good with it, and it was just a great, great event. And I would
Right.
just recommend people to get out there more and more to those types of events.
That's awesome. So to find those kind of events, you recommend people just go on. If you're particularly if you're in your area, you know for sure you can Google, Democrat event, Manatee County, something to that effect.
Yeah.
You can usually go to the local county party website and find events like that. And it doesn't even have to just be that. If you get engaged with your community, period, and
Hmm.
and share your feelings about what's going on in the world in this country right now. It's really important that we share this stuff with other people. I try not to mix business and politics too much because number one, I'm really fucking busy, and other people are really busy too, and try not to, confuse the issue. But there are days where it just has to be said. What's going on is wrong, and I'm
Hmm.
not hesitant to do it. Um, and if we're blowing up people in boats and we don't know what the fuck is going on, why we're doing this, we need to say so. We need
Hmm.
to say so. There are people dying in little fucking rafts in the Caribbean Sea, and nobody knows why. Nobody
Hmm.
knows why we're nuking these people. So, like, it's important that American people stand up and whatever they take issue with what's going on, say so. Share it with your community in some form or fashion. It can be online, but it's great to get in person and talk about it. So, I
Yeah.
definitely back what you're saying, and I appreciate that. And I think, Mark, with
Hmm.
that said, we should wrap up this episode.
Let's real quick.
Go ahead. What
Um,
final words do you have?
the final words I have is just that. So I was in Wisconsin for 10 years, right? Like
Hmm.
mid Wisconsin, right? About at an hour and a half east of Minneapolis, right there on the border of Minnesota and Wisconsin. But it would get like -30 sometimes, like, just freaking
Yep.
for weeks on end. Just brutal. But today it was like 36 degrees outside in Florida, and it felt colder today than I've ever felt in my life. And I don't know if that what that means. And if
Wow.
I, yeah,
Dude,
yeah,
you got that
and
warm blood now. That's your
I got that.
problem.
Yeah, so no more of that, please. That's just a little too cold. I think we had like a 20 degree wind chill or something. It's
Yeah,
just
I think we're
crazy.
gonna have it another one more day, Mark, and I think it winds up.
All right, good. All right.
Gets
No,
out of here just for you, so you
gosh,
can get
that
back
is
on the campaign trail.
that's the only reason I'm sitting in here is because usually I sit outside or it's just because I got my heater next to me and
Yeah. All
yeah.
right.
All right.
Big wuss, dude. Yeah,
I
all
know.
that. You were able to manage those tundra like conditions for all those years, and now you're just another Floridian goofball with your flip flops on, and you can't handle it if it's under 60 degrees.
Well, probably the coldest I've ever been is on the flight line when I was in the Air Force
Oh, I
when
bet.
yeah, in Indiana, and on a flight line, and especially Indiana, there's no hills or anything like that. It's just
It's just
flat.
you're out in the open.
You're just there, and then you just get blasted with snow, and you get blasted with all this wind. And I had to refill the jets, and it took
Yeah.
multiple hours to put 100,000 gallons or whatever they took of fuel on them, you know. So you're just
Yeah.
standing out there, just getting blasted, and you can't go in the truck, you know, you can't stay warm. Anyway,
Can't do. You can't. Certainly can't complain to your CO.
no, there's none of that.
He
So
ain't, I mean, he ain't anywhere to be found, but you definitely can't
no,
complain to him.
no, he was nice and toasty, but all right,
That's a good vet story right there. So for Veterans Day, Mark sharing getting blasted with snow in 0 degree weather on the flight line.
yeah, brutal, brutal,
Cool. All
yeah,
right, great. Well, everyone, we appreciate you watching. Keep fighting. This fight ain't over. It really is going to take all of us to right the ship in this country. We can do it. We can overcome. Until next time, dad bods and bad attitudes. Peace.